John from theproductivegarden.com, and today I'm going to talk about one thing I feed to my chickens every now and then, and that's sprouted grain. Now, to do it you need a few basic things, and it doesn't have to be exactly what I've got, but this is what I use. Now, to sprout my grain in, I use one of these little mini hothouses, greenhouses, and what you've got to make sure of when you use them is that you've got one with a solid base. This one has no holes in it. Often they come with holes in them, and I like this one because it doesn't have any holes in it, so I can sprout grain in here and it'll hold water, it won't leak. Okay, and the top, probably not necessary, but it just helps to hold a bit more of the warmth in, which is what the grain needs to sprout. Of course, you need some grain. I've got wheat here. You can use wheat, sorghum, barley. I've been told that oats can force chickens to molt, so I probably wouldn't use oats. I've never tested that, but that's just what I've heard. Yeah, any grain can be used, obviously, other than oats, unless you want to force a molt for some reason. Of course, you'll need some water to put in there, and I also use diatomaceous earth, or DE. Now, if you're going to get some diatomaceous earth to mix in with this, and I'll show you how we mix this in later on, get food grade diatomaceous earth, not the stuff that you use in pools, because the stuff that you use in pools has been processed. It's got stuff added to it which doesn't make it suitable to feed to anything. But food grade diatomaceous earth is what you need. Now, the way I do this is I just put some grain into the tray of my mini greenhouse. Put in as much as you like, it'll depend on how many chooks you've got. I've got a fair few chooks, so I'm going to just put about a layer about ½ inch thick, 1.5 centimetres thick or so. Okay, just sort of lay it out as evenly as you can. And then what I'm going to do after that is get some water. Now, I always use rainwater for this. I won't use chlorinated water, town water. Some nice fresh rainwater is what you want. And you want to fill that up so that so pretty much till this tray is almost full. You want a fair bit of water there because this grain is going to soak up the water. Okay, now I've got that pretty full now. I'll just push it down a bit because some of it will use the surface tension to float. Once you put it under push it under the water and get it wet, then it'll start to sink. But if some does keep floating, no matter how much you push it down, doesn't really matter because after a while it will soak up water and sink anyway. Okay, so that's pretty good. Some of it's still floating, but like I say, it'll sink after a while. There's a little bit of sunflower mixed in there as well. That's just what's been mixed in with the grain when I bought it, but that's no big deal. Like I said, any grain will do. And the reason I sprout this grain rather than feed it straight to them like it is because once the grain starts sprouting, the nutrients inside the grain change because they're starting to grow. They convert into different types of nutrients, which makes it much easier for the chickens to digest and much more bioavailable to them. So that's why I do it. So you're still feeding them the grain, but you're feeding it to them in a better form. Okay, now they've got the water in here, I'm going to put it in a nice warm place. It doesn't have to be sunny, just has to be warm for a day, okay, to let it soak. And then I'm going to come back and give it a wash, put it back in the tray, and then do that each day. So each day it'll be in the tray, it won't be soaking, it'll just be wet inside the tray. And then each day I'll wash it, which effectively re-wets it, but also make sure you wash any fungus that's developing on it. Okay, so I'll go and put this in my warm place, which for me is in our pantry on top of our hot water heater, and we'll come back later on and we'll have a look and show how I wash it off. Okay, I'll go and put it away. Now, I've had this grain soaking for a day. You can see it's gone all bubbly in top. It's a little bit of fermentation taking place. Now it's time to wash it. And each day you'll wash it. No need to soak it anymore. Just make sure it stays damp, and when you wash it each day, it'll re-wet the grain, it'll stay wet. So we'll wash it now. Now what I'm going to do first up is just use this sieve. I'm just going to tip it in the bucket and catch any of the grain in the sieve. Bit of a balancing act. Okay, so now that I've got most of the water out of that tray, I'm just going to scoop the rest into the sieve and then I'll be able to wash it off. Rightio, won't worry too much about that grain that's fallen out. There's plenty in there. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is just run some fresh water through. I'll just do this with the watering can. I prefer just to use plain rainwater for this rather than chlorinated water. We don't really want to go adding chemicals and stuff to something that we're going to feed to our chooks. But if all you've got is chlorinated water, if that's all you've got access to, then it's better that than not washing your grain. I'll just run a little bit more through. And basically that's it, just rinsing it all off, just to rinse anything through. Okay, now I'll just let that run through. Now the other thing you want to do, because we are trying to stop fungus and stuff growing in the tray that it's growing in as well, is we'll just give that a rinse off as well. Okay, so it doesn't have to be like a surgically clean thing, just as long as it's relatively clean and any fungus that has started building up is washed out. Makes it start all over again. You're not going to get a big toxic build-up of the fungus. Tip it all back in. Okay, just spread it out nice and evenly again. And what it also does when you've rinsed it is it gives it a chance to turn over, so you haven't always got the same grains at the top all the time. Rightio, I'll put my little top back on. And again, just put it back in the same warm place, and you're going to do that for about 3 or 4 days, so each day for about 3 or 4 days until you start seeing little roots coming out of the grain. Once you start seeing little roots, then the grain has started sprouting, and that's when you feed it to the chooks. So we'll go and put this away. We'll come back in a couple of days and have a look at it, mix the diatomaceous earth in, and we'll see how the chooks like it. Okay, we'll see you in a few days. Alright, it's been 4 days now and the grain is well and truly sprouted. So what I'll do, I'll bring you in for a close-up and I'll show you how the grain sprouted. Okay, so you can see here the sprouting of the grain, and you'll see on some of it you've got bits like this bit here. You might be able to see there's a bit of fuzziness about it. Some of that is the feeding hairs on the roots, and you'll get other bits like this bit here, which is a bit of fungus that's coming out of the coming off the grain. So we want to wash that fungus off. It probably wouldn't hurt the chooks all that much, but if we get it off it'll be healthier. So that's all we're looking for, just a few little roots, and there's some shoots come out as well. That's only 4 days in a warm place, albeit if you had it in a cooler place it would take a bit longer. So we'll wash this off, mix it in with the diatomaceous earth, and we'll feed it to the chooks, see how they like it. Alright, so like I did before, we're just going to wash this grain off. Use the sieve, and this time I'm not going to try and wash it all at once. I'll just wash it in bits because I've got 3 chicken coops with chickens in them, so I can separate it as we go. So I'll do one lot, put a fair bit in. You can actually feel when you pick it up that it is a bit slimy, so that's the mould that's on it. So we'll just rinse it through. So let's rinse that lot through, and we'll put it. And I just use sauces from pots and that sort of thing to dish it up in. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. Tip them in now. Okay, get another lot. Alright, and the reason for sprouting the grain is, like I explained before, it changes the nutrients that are in the grain. When the grain hasn't sprouted, the nutrients are very starchy stuff. It's stuff that isn't as useful to the chooks. It isn't as easily absorbed by their digestive system. So by sprouting it, you change those starches to actual vitamins and that sort of thing, which are a lot easier for the chook to use. Starch, it'll just basically provide them with energy and that sort of thing, and like there's a bit of protein and stuff as well. But once the grain inside, and it's processed, the chemical processes of sprouting, once they sprout, then that changes the chemicals inside into vitamins and that sort of stuff, enzymes and things like that, that the chooks can actually use to build tissue, be healthy and that sort of thing, which are things that they can't create from the raw nutrients. It gets created in the plant, and that's how they get the nutrients. So that's why it's much better to feed them sprouted grain than just to feed them normal unsprouted grain. So we've got this second lot rinsed off. Like I said before, it doesn't need to be rinsed surgically clean, as long as you've gotten the worst of the mould off it. I'm not that worried about reusing the water to rinse each lot. Okay, so we've got a second lot there. And this last lot doesn't have to be terribly big, because I'll give this lot to the marrons, which is only the rooster and the hen that I've got. I'm just trying to source a couple more hens at the moment so that we can get more eggs and incubate some and hatch them. So hopefully we'll have some later on in the year. Anyway, so I'll get this lot washed. Pull this lot down. Rightio, so that's all them out. Put the water through these lot. Okay, now that's that lot washed. Righto, that's all done. Now, we'll get our 3 servings of seeds up here, of grain, sprouted grain. And next we just have to mix the diatomaceous earth in. And what the diatomaceous earth does is, it's made of little prehistoric shellfish fossils, and it contains lots of minerals. It's also abrasive to an extent that any insects and parasites and stuff, it abrades their outside shell and causes them to dehydrate and die. So it has two beneficial effects for the chickens. One, it gives them the minerals and stuff that are in the diatomaceous earth that they can use. And the other thing is any internal parasites such as worms and that sort of thing, they will be killed by the abrasion of the diatomaceous earth, and so it has the added benefit of also being able to get rid of worms and that sort of thing. Okay, now if you're using this diatomaceous earth, you wouldn't do this on a windy day outside because it'll just blow it everywhere. It's not really good stuff to breathe in, so we'll try and get it wet pretty quick with the grain. I also use this in my chicken coops. When I clean them off, I dust diatomaceous earth around the chicken coops on the perches and in the nesting boxes, in the little corners where mites and stuff might be able to live, and that helps to keep the mites down and that sort of thing. Yeah, but when I'm doing that in the chicken coops, because I am like creating a bit of dust with this diatomaceous earth, I wear breathing protection. I wear a particle mask, so I'm not breathing this stuff in. But with this, because it's been wet and I'm not dusting it around the place, I don't tend to worry about it. But on a windy day, I would try and find a sheltered area, or perhaps do it inside. Alright, we've got that all mixed up. So what we'll do now is we'll take it down to the chooks, and I think the proof of this, of whether it's good for the chooks or not, will be in how well they take to it. So let's go down, visit the chickens and see how they go. Alright, so first we'll see how the Marins like it. We'll go in there and see how they like things. Now there, that's our rooster, and his girl there. Okay, we'll see how they go. They haven't really had it before, but we'll put this down here. Oops. And see how they go. She's usually the most inquisitive. He's a bit more standoffish, but I'm sure they'll love it. He's not too sure. He's always the most standoffish of the two. But she seems to like it. There you go. So he's had his bit. Not going mad, but they're, like I said, they haven't had it before. And there's only two of them, so food demand isn't as great. They don't tend to pig out on things. But there you go. She likes it. She's going for it. So we're going to see how the other chooks like it. Alright, chooks here are our backyard layers, just our normal crossbred chooks. Nothing special about these guys, except they do provide a lot of eggs for us. They haven't had it for a little while, but once they realise what it is, they'll well and truly get into it. There'll be no stopping these guys. Alright, so there's those two. There's that lot. Okay, we'll go and see these guys now. This is our Araucana rooster. And I've just got him with some crossbred chickens. Now, some of these guys might have had it. I know he hasn't had it, at least not with me. But there you go. So that's it. Sprouted grain. You can use any grain: wheat, sorghum, sunflower, barley, anything. Like I said, oats can make them malt, so you might not want to use that. But yeah. Sprout it for 3 or 4 days in a nice warm place. Wash it each day to get the mould off it. And yeah, mix it with some DE, or if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. But if you do get diatomaceous earth, just make sure it's food grade. Alright, so that's it. Sprouting grain, that's how you do it. Well, that's how I do it anyway. Alright, so that's it for now. Until next time, happy productive gardening. Bye.